again, you might have deja vu. It's the Shadow Government Services Minister, Paul Fletcher, who I dismissed a few minutes ago. The bells were ringing, but you've managed a pair, I'm assuming. We were talking gas, and just that question again. So the principle, if Labor has secured supply, so you look at the details of it and it seems legitimate, through this, partly having this mechanism to deal with, surely you'd be loath to team up with the Greens to disallow it.
Look, the fundamental issue here is that we know that gas is going to be a very important fuel for decades to come, both domestically and internationally. Yet Labor has been, both federally and at state government level, has been making it harder and harder to find new sources of supply, to allow exploration to proceed, to allow gas activities to proceed. And what we've seen now from Mr Bowen is effectively an admission of failure in their policy settings. But look, again, I make the point, we will wait and see the detail, because we have, there's been, this government and Mr Bowen have a track record of talking big, but the details are different to what they're promising.
If the detail checks out, would you describe it as a good development though?
Again, I'm not going to be making that commitment until we have had a chance to have a look at the detail.
But you want more gas, so if more gas is coming, that'd be good.
We need to see the detail, we need to see the conditions, we need to see the fine print.
Within gas as well, Labor has got this ability to raise, $2.4 billion over forward estimates, I think, changes to the PRRT, which the coalition is going to oppose, even though the sector is fine with it. Is there another policy where a sector said, yep, fine with that you've opposed before? Well,
look, as Susan McDonald, our spokesperson on resources, has said, as Angus Taylor, the Shadow Treasurer, has said, there's a set of sensible conditions that we have suggested in relation to this. And again, it goes to this issue of how do we ensure that exploration activities can continue, that we can continue to have a pathway to be able to access the gas resources that Australia has and that need to come to market to serve people in the domestic market and to serve people internationally. So it's very much about supporting a continued pathway for exploration and discovery of gas.
Albeit the sector seems okay with it. Anyway, prominence laws, so these are the laws Labor is looking at on smart TVs, but they seem to have arrived on their principle, if you listen to Michelle Rowland, that they will give a leg up to free TV. So when you get your smart TV and you turn it on, free TV gets prominence, which as a principle, is that something that the coalition does not support, that's picking winners like that's a bit strange?
We've been very clear on this since, in fact, I left the position of Communications Minister. We established a future broadcasting working group to have a careful look at the policy issues here. Labor said in May 2022 they were going to legislate on this. 18 months later, we still have not seen the details of their legislation. So as David Coleman, a very capable Shadow Communications Minister, has been saying, we will wait and see what the government is proposing. 18 months in, we still haven't seen anything. So we will reserve our position until we see what the government...
But again, you have a principle on this, and it seemed to be, no, we wouldn't just pick one sector, free TV, it gets prominence, because within Labor's proposal paper it said this will give them advantage in the streaming world, which is kind of going to be everything, right? That would go against your principle of what you thought when this was proposed.
There's been a lot of issues caught up and a lot of issues, frankly, mishandled by this government. You talk about streaming. You've got the Arts Minister and the Communications Minister apparently not on the same page when it comes to Mr Burke's idea that there should be a Australian content quota of 20% for streaming video. All of these things create uncertainty for investment and for the sector. Free-to-air, subscription TV, streaming, and frankly, we've seen just a pretty chaotic approach.
IR finally, it looks like that's going to be kicked off until next year.
Well, of course, the Senate has got a committee underway to look at the details of this multi-hundred-page bill. That'll report in February. But, let's be clear, at a time when we need improved productivity in Australia's economy, Mr Burke is taking Australia back to the 1970s in terms of workplace relations. We've already had one very bad set of workplace relations changes past the Parliament. Now he's got more. You can't really trust this guy in terms of what he says.
Got to leave it there. Paul Fletcher, thank you.